But we have to talk about this Jameis Winston story, Bomani, because we have news that the NFL reportedly plans to suspend the quarterback for the first 3 games of the 2018 season for violating the league's personal conduct policy, according to our own Adam Schefter. And here's the quote from Schefter: "Winston could be notified as early as Friday, but others think it will be handed down sometime in the next week. Also caution that the circumstances surrounding it still could lead to an increase or decrease of the 3 games. Jeff Cameron of ESPN Radio says the suspension doesn't necessarily mean that the NFL found Winston guilty of the allegations. Now, this is dating back to an incident, I guess we would call it, with an Uber, a woman, a female driver, and a person who was in that car or not in that car, depending on whether you believe the female Uber driver or Jameis Winston. But what he'll be suspended over, apparently, according to Jeff Cameron, is a failure to report. That is a lot of catch-up on a story that some may have forgotten, but what do you think when you hear it?
Well, hold on. We have to put in a key detail, uncomfortable though it may be. The Uber driver alleges that Jameis Winston grabbed her crotch
reached over and
while she was in the car. Jameis Winston says that the Uber driver is confused about how many people were in the car and who was sitting next to her, because she says he was the only person in the car. He says no, apparently there were other people in the car. That seems to be what he's intimating. We got 2 sides here of limited credibility. One of them is Jameis Winston. The other is the NFL. So it becomes very important for us to see what exactly the NFL and its investigation comes back with. What we won't have, though, because apparently Winston will not appeal here, is a challenge to whatever the investigative method happened to be. So we're going to have to take everybody's word for it. And Jameis Winston or the NFL, whose word are you willing to take?
The NFL seems to have realized something, and Mike Florio pointed this out, so I want to cite him on this. The NFL has been trying to simulate the justice system for so long, and it seems they've honed in on a part of the justice system that they haven't quite embraced before, and that is the plea deal. A plea deal which involves the party in question, Jameis Winston, admitting to something, but not necessarily everything, agreeing to a perhaps reduced sentence, but removing the idea of an appeal just makes this so much easier in terms of the PR in theory.
Yes, in theory, but we're to the next level of this, is that this involves Jameis Winston. Like, we'd probably be having a similar conversation if this involved Ben Roethlisberger. But a lot of where people are going to come from on this matter depends on whether or not you think Winston committed a sexual assault in 2013. And that's the thing that hangs over him all the time, because the way that investigation was done, the police not investigating effectively. I don't know what to do with that, right? I don't know how I'm supposed to use the fact that he was accused of a sexual assault that wasn't properly investigated. Like, I don't feel like I have answers that make me confident I can say one way or another what did or did not happen. But there's already been a column written in a paper in Tampa calling for Jameis Winston to be released. You're going to hear more of this depending on what is in that report, and I don't think it's a ridiculous thing to say.
No, and it's worth pointing out, too, that the attorney for the Uber driver in question here, I believe, is the same attorney as Erica Kinsman, who, of course, was the Florida State student in the Jameis Winston previous scenario that we've heard, and Florida State was found guilty of a Title IX violation at the very least. So the institutions here are also grappling with this in ways that the Justice Department isn't ready to.
And the question, man, is it happening to some linebacker? Is it happening to some defensive end? This is happening to a franchise NFL quarterback. Is a team willing to release a quarterback over conduct at that age? We are going to find out.
And it's not going to be anything but messy.
No.